You're on.
In this video presentation, I will demonstrate how I've used and mastered the two general competencies, oral communication and quantitative reasoning. When I was studying at Westchester Community College, I wanted to improve my oral communication skills. I already had some skills mastered from my high school exit project. In this exit project, we were required to volunteer and then present a PowerPoint to community members about our volunteer experience. That went pretty well for me, but I knew that I could continue to improve my oral communication ability. I met a fellow student at Westchester Community College who recommended a speech class. I signed up and was happy that I did. We were required to present 4 types of speeches during this semester. For my persuasive speech, I chose the topic of why you should quit smoking. I had to collect the data about smoking and understand it before writing my speech. The 2 main internet sources I used were the American Cancer Society and NY Quits. I also used a few magazine articles about smoking and college-age adults. During this process of writing and making the speech, I displayed that I had mastered the competency of oral communication. The speech was presented while I projected a PowerPoint presentation with some interesting visuals. In this essay, it was easy to organize the speech coherently. I believe that I had a compelling central argument because I took the time to find information that would move my peers. I also used a few personal stories of what smoking had done to members of my family to persuade my audience to quit smoking. The information and the stories fit well into organizational patterns and made it a powerful speech. Each point that I made was supported by an interesting slide. When it came to making language choices, I used very persuasive language, short sentences, action words, and bullet points. The speech itself was not extemporaneous because I had to research and write it. However, my professor wanted us to be able to answer questions from the student audience, and at the end of the presentation, which I was able to do well. When I wrapped up the speech, it was obvious that I had reached my audience with precision and clarity. This experience supports my view that I had mastered the competency of oral communication. Next, I'm going to look at the competency quantitative reasoning. I'm going to explain the work that was necessary to complete a biology lab in a biology class taken at Westchester Community College. First, I'm going to quickly explain the purpose of my biology lab experiment in simple terms. This lab was intended to teach us about assays. An assay is an analysis of an item to determine its elements. The experiment also introduced us to procedures a biologist would use. We used arithmetic, evaluation of information in a tabular form, and finally computer skills to make a chart of the data. I'm going to show the steps of my experiment with the help of my lab book for images. First, we filled a burette with a prepared solution. A burette is a long, thin glass vessel that has markings on it to show how much of the solution comes out when you open and close a valve at the bottom of it. The burette was filled with a 2% solution of absorbic acid, which is also known as vitamin C. We were given it as a prepared solution, and the goal was to learn how to determine the percentage of vitamin C in a very reactant solution. Under the burette, there was a 10 milliliter beaker of reactant solution, which was a bright blue color. Next, we opened and closed the valve of the burette above the beaker to let out drops of the vitamin C solution and stop when the blue solution turned straw yellow. It took about 5 drops. By looking at the burette markings, we were able to determine how much of the vitamin C solution was needed to change the color of the reactant solution. I repeated this experiment 3 times and noted the data in my lab book. This table is the model of relevant information in a mathematical representation was made. I used arithmetic when I averaged the 3 data entries into one answer. As you can see, I also converted the amount of millimeters from the answer into grams by dividing and using this formula. This page shows my mastery of quantitative reasoning by modeling relevant information into mathematical representation. The next step in the biolab was to repeat the experiment, but this time use a prepared solution of unknown percentage of vitamin C. We had a hypothesis of increased concentration of vitamin C in the unknown solution based on the appearance and had to test it out. The steps were repeated, which means the experiment stopped when the blue solution turned yellow. Here is the table that was produced with my entries in it. The amount on this table shows that my hypothesis was correct and that the unknown solution was a higher percentage of vitamin C. The data was entered and the amounts were averaged using arithmetic. The problem was solved using logic, observation, and calculations. Quantitative data was analyzed to make a judgment and draw a conclusion about the percentage of vitamin C in the solution. The last part of this lab experiment involves using Excel 2016, which is a computer program to make a graph of the data. These 2 past assignments I did at Westchester Community College are perfect examples of how I've mastered oral communication and quantitative reasoning.